I am Joseph Peroni.
Heidi Mancini.
And you are tuned in to VegasAllNetRadio.com. This is the From Grief to Relief show, and we are heard live every Thursday between 2 and 3 p.m. All of our shows are archived for later listening. You can also buy the From Grief to Relief book on Amazon.com.
Our mission statement for our show is to share life experiences, love and courage, and strength to face life and its challenges. Every guest shares their journey through life, hopefully helping others to realize we all face the same fears and challenges. With love, hope, courage, strength, and support, we can help each other live authentic lives.
Paperback writer.
I am Joseph Peroni.
And Heidi Mancini.
And we are now live on VegasAllNetRadio.com. So how are you today?
I'm great. How are you today, Joe?
Good. You know, it's like 80 degrees out.
I know. I love it.
I wish I had started my diet a little sooner. It's almost beach weather here. Well, not that we have a beach or anything, but...
I know, but we should go by the pool. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it's great. So this week, we're going to start our discussion on imago therapy. And I also want to talk about some people who, for some reason, well, let's be honest, the reasons probably are gender, their race, lack of money maybe, or somebody not being marketable enough. But these people are not getting the credit they deserve, and that kind of bothers me. Also, our featured music today is from Alvin Lee, and as I had mentioned last week, but I was not really prepared for it, right?
Yeah.
He died last week at 68 years old.
That's
And yeah, he's made great music for about 40 years, and he was very much underappreciated. And I actually talked to my sister last night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and by the way, happy birthday. Her birthday
Happy
was
birthday to you. You belong in the zoo with the monkeys and the gorillas. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha.
I'll let you sing. I don't want to do that. But, yeah, my sister and I are actually big fans of Alvin Lee, and my sister didn't even know that he died. Now, here's the thing behind that. It's like, you know, they don't even mention it on the radio, and he's been making music for all of these years. And that kind of stuff bothers me because he gets unmarketable, I guess, because he's so eclectic. He plays jazz, he plays blues, he plays country. He's made an album with George Harrison, also with Mick Taylor from the Rolling Stones. And it just made me think about how many people out there are going through their everyday stuff, and they don't get credit for any of the good things that they do. So this stuff really bothers me, and I don't hear it on any other radio station. So being that we have access, I'm going to say what I need to say.
Okay.
So he nearly stole the show at Woodstock in 1969 with his performance of I'm Going Home.
Very nice song, by the way, that you made me listen to, which I enjoyed
like
very
20
much.
times. But the song, the title "I'm Going Home," you know, means something more now. But it's really hard to steal the show when you're playing up against people like The Who and Jimi Hendrix and Santana. But he very nearly did it, and some people would say that he did. So what I want to do in the beginning here, I want to play the beginning of this song as an example out there, because I know a lot of musicians. I want to give this as an example to all musicians who want to learn how to grab an audience by the eardrums, like right from the first note. This is how you take over the stage. You know, I love musicians, but when you just stand there and it's almost like you're just kind of in the mix, you got to be able to grab people enough so they're not just sitting there talking to their girlfriend, drinking a beer, sitting on their iPhones and stuff. So this is the best example I could think of right here of a man who means business when he touches the stage. So this is Alvin Lee at Woodstock playing I'm Going Home.
This is a thing called I'm Going Home by Helicopter. she's my baby. Oh, baby, hunt you, she's my woman. Oh, tell me, baby, where it gets going down. Tell me, baby, where it gets going down.
I got. Oh, hello.
Yes, we are back. Listen,
Joe.
that song is about 10 minutes long, so we don't have time for all that. But I just want you to give an idea of what a real musician does there.
Mm-hmm. I have a little information from your sister.
Okay.
She wants to share. She said Alvin Lee died in Spain, as did Gary Moore 2 years ago.
Wow, I didn't know that. Huh.
So thanks for that, Lorene, because we didn't know that.
Let's add Gary Moore to the list, too, by the way, of great guitar players that never got their just due.
I hope you're having a happy birthday, Lorene.
Yeah, we'll play some more Alvin Lee as we go. Yeah, so this is the great Alvin Lee, and my sister and I would listen to him all the time. Actually, I think 1980, I was 15 years old, she was 14. We had gone to an Alvin Lee concert. I believe it was the third concert we ever went to. First one was Todd Rundgren, second was The Who, and third was Alvin Lee. Here's the great part. We were young, and we were kind of stupid. So we aimed for the front of the stage, and we made it. It was just like the Calderone Theater in New York. There's only not that many people there. But anyway, we got to the front of the stage. When he came back for his encore, like little kids we were, we held up the album cover that we had. We were like, ooh, yeah, like that's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
You know what? We had a pen, too. He actually saw us, grab the album cover, put it down on the stage, signed it, and handed it back to us, and then walked back out.
Nice.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool. Yeah,
That's
also
nice.
at most of his shows, he's like so mellow as a human being. He would walk out there with a watermelon. Now, I don't understand why, okay, so don't ask. But he would walk out there with the watermelon, put it down, put his foot on it, and play the whole show, about 2.5 hours, and just pick up the watermelon, put it on his shoulder, and walk back off the stage.
Do you know that had to mean something? That was symbolic of something. Where's he originally from? Do you know?
England.
Oh,
But
England.
I don't know what that has anything to do with it.
Watermelons.
Yeah, so for musicians out there, he plays almost exclusively a 1959 Gibson ES 335, which very few other players seem to play.
I don't know what that is.
It's known as Big Red.
Okay.
So there's other things that were annoying me this week. I was figuring out other people who do not get their just due. Here's one for you. Do you know who invented the telephone?
No. Who invented the telephone?
Yes, you do. Come on,
I
take
know.
a guess.
It's Bell. Adams, what's his
you would
name?
think
Bell.
so, right? You would think it's Alexander Graham Bell.
Yeah.
And you know, it hurts me even to say his name because he's an absolute fraud. Because, seriously, there's a guy, his name is, he's an Italian, okay? Antonio Meucci.
Meucci?
Yes.
How's he spell it?
Meucci.
Oh, because my grandmother's name is Mucci.
Oh, so you might be
Yeah,
rich
I might
and
be
you don't
related,
know
and
it.
I don't even know it. Dang it. Just like Henry Mancini, right? I have Mancini.
You got a lot of famous names. So check this out. All of this time, in the year 2002, only 11 years ago, it was officially recognized. He got the patent for the telephone. This guy,
Wow.
Meucci, after all those years. They said there was about 600 litigations with this going back and forth over the years. So when people are paying their bills to, like, Bell Telephone, Southwest Bell,
Yeah.
it's a fraud. It's not Alexander Graham Bell. Actually, Meucci had the telephone, and he actually had a modern-day intercom system in his house 5 years before Alexander Graham Bell supposedly invented it. But here's the thing. With all the research and development, right,
Yeah.
he was going bankrupt, and he needed $10 for this thing called a caveat patent, and he didn't have the money for it. But everybody knew that he had a telephone in his house. It was working.
Oh, wow.
So after all these years, they finally gave it back to him because they said for lack of $10, himself and his whole family's been screwed out of all that money and everything. And I got to tell you, it's like even to this day, and it's this is the From Grief to Relief show. One of the things that I worry about is making sure that people get their just due.
Yeah.
As human beings for everything that they do, and they and for their legacies. And here's a guy who's has an incredible legacy, and still to this day, nobody knows who he is. That bothers me a lot.
That's crazy, though.
Yeah. You want to hear another one?
Yeah.
Here's another good one. Patricia Bath. She invented the laser phaco tube. Now check this out.
What?
I think it's called a phaco tube or phaco tube.
Phaco tube. What is that? That sounds kind of obscene. Phaco you too. Is he Italian too? Phaco you too?
No, she.
Or Chinese? What is that? Fuck you too, Joe. For real, he's cussing on the air, Randy. What's up with that?
I'll let you take over on that part. But yeah, she's an African American.
I love it.
Yeah, she's an African American woman.
Okay.
Now check it out. She invented the machine, I guess it would be, this laser that removes cataracts. So she basically invented the means to do cataract surgery. So she's given eyesight to probably thousands of people. And
That's
do we know her name?
No.
No.
Well, I do now.
But I'm giving it to
I
you
don't think
now.
I'll ever forget.
And here's the thing, when you see on TV about these, you want a role model for, black women, and we hear like Beyonce, being a role model. I'm going to say, skip all that. Let's say a good word for Patricia Bath, who's given eyesight to many people.
I have one for you, Joe.
What's that?
Who invented the toilet?
Well, I know the answer to this. This is actually true. Go ahead.
This is so true. He asked me this question earlier, and I said, Shitty Smith. I mean, just joking, right? So he texts me back, and he says, guess what the name is? Sir Thomas Crapper.
Yeah.
That's for real.
That's actually true. But here's the little thing here's the one thing that's a little bit false, though. He didn't invent the toilet bowl, but he did he was awarded 9 patents for different plumbing innovations. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting.
That's when you say I got to take a crap.
Right.
And why do people say they got to take a crap? They should say I got to leave a crap. Because when you crap, you don't take it, right?
Well,
you leave it.
You leave it. You're sending it, actually, aren't you?
Jesus.
Yeah. So that's another guy that should get some,
some credit.
His name is terrible, but he does need to get some credit, that's for sure. And let me tell you about the real Dr. Drew. Not the Dr. Drew that we see on TV, who's never actually helped anybody, by the way. I think 5 of his patients in the last 2 years killed themselves. So that's not the real Dr. Drew. Let me tell you about the real one. Dr. Charles Drew invented the blood bank. He started he learned how to do, and from that, he learned how to do blood transfusions. And so because of that, he saved hundreds, probably thousands of lives in World War II. So that's, and let me say this too, because I was actually compiling this for last month was Black History Month, but we only have an hour on the radio, so I always have excess material. But anyway, he was an African American, this Dr. Charles Drew.
Huh.
Now here's the crazy thing about it. You ready? He got fired from his job, even though he invented the blood bank and blood transfusions. You know why he got fired?
Why? Because he was black.
Well, in a way, what he did was he protested against the segregation of blood. In other words, here's a guy who invented the blood bank, and back then in the 40s, they were still separating, supposedly, black people's blood from white people's blood.
What?
Yeah. Can you get... It's ridiculous, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, he got fired for that. So he's the guy who invented that and is saving millions of lives, probably. Yeah.
That's insane.
That's crazy, right? Okay, so let me go on to more. Here's a good one. D.B. Downing. He invented, another African American, invented the mailbox in 1891. This guy needs some credit. Let me tell you why. Because when you look at the year, think about that, 1891. Okay, did any African Americans own any land?
No.
Were they allowed to?
No.
So here's a guy that went out of his way, and the goodness, I mean, think about it. I mean, he invented a mailbox. Like, who was he helping to do this?
Yeah.
White people.
Exactly.
So I think he needs a lot of credit also. Another interesting one. Richard Spikes invented the gear shift, another African American. He invented the gear shift in 1899. That's a long time ago. And of course, in Las Vegas, we can appreciate this man right here. Another African American, Frederick M. Jones, invented the air conditioning unit.
Yeah, thank God, right?
Yeah, in 1949. All these, did these people get any credit?
Nope.
No. Let me do a few more for you because I know you like this one. George Washington Carver invented over 100 peanut products, including your favorite food, peanut butter.
Oh.
Right?
I love peanut butter.
Yeah, so
So do you, Joe.
That's important. I
He's
do,
the peanut
actually.
butter stealer, everybody.
Yeah, I do like that. So, let me go for a few more here. Now, Native American contributors, right? Let's talk about that for a second. Did you know that Native Americans invented aspirin?
No? No, I kind of believe that because they were into like all this earth. They used to take things from the earth and make all kinds of concoctions out of them. So that one's not far-fetched.
Right, yeah, I think it comes from like white willow bark.
But you know, in
something like that.
pharmaceuticals, though, they do that all the time. They steal, like, from herbologists and stuff because the normal person can't go through all the patenting and the FDA stuff because they don't have millions of dollars. So companies like Merck and different ones they'll get these products and they do all the testing and then they make their own pharmaceutical drug. They steal from people all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah,
And that's
big
true.
companies come in,
That's a fact.
they swallow up the little guys and they make all the money.
Yeah.
Also, your other favorite food. Native Americans are known for cocoa, so they made chocolate.
Oh,
So if we combine the Native
chocolate.
Americans with chocolate and African Americans for making peanut butter, we got Reese's
Reese's
peanut butter cups. What do you think
cups.
about that?
Yay.
All right,
Those
so
are good, too.
yeah. And listen, when I cheat on my diet, that's where I want to go right there. Reese's peanut
You know what
butter
I love,
cups.
too?
So,
Are the Easter ones. When they come out with the Easter egg Reese's. They taste different than the regular Reese's for some reason. They are so good.
yeah, I haven't had those in a million
And jelly
years.
beans. I'm done with the jelly beans, Joe. God, I've been eating jelly beans. I love black jelly beans, and you can only get them at this time of year. So I'm over it.
And let's talk about Mount Rushmore for a second. Okay, Mount Rushmore, right? We get 4 important people up there, supposedly our founding fathers. There's not one Native American. There are no Indians up there, which is ridiculous, right? And let me give you the names. You got Jefferson, Lincoln, Washington, right? What do they all have in common? I'll tell you. They all owned slaves. So we've got people, 3 out of the 4 up on Mount Rushmore have owned slaves.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know, the original Mount Rushmore was supposed to have Lewis and Clark on it. Yeah, and they decided to take them off.
Well, that was kind of silly.
Yeah, so I would say, if you're talking about our founding fathers, truly, they'd have to be the Native Americans, right? They're Indians.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they got
not-
stolen from, too.
not-
We all know that.
Yeah, so it's not
Right.
those 4 guys. So I want to mention that, too, because we never really hear that. So of course I'm going to have the courage to say it. And we can all, I know you're definitely for this part, I think we could all make a mention of a lot of women who have worked from a very young age all the way to retirement age. And during their whole career, they received about 75 cents on the dollar compared to the men who were working at that time. I think that goes, underappreciated for how much work goes in, and they're getting only 3/4 of the pay.
Yeah.
That's kind of not fair. And let me throw in one more, because we were lucky the other night to go see Rich Little,
Yeah.
who we hope to have
That's
as a
funny.
guest
What's
soon.
that joke? Do you remember that joke he told about the ass?
No, but I'm going to let
Oh
him
my
say it. I don't
God,
want
that
to.
is
I don't
so
want to
funny.
steal any of this stuff. I'm not
Okay.
going to do that. But let me just say, here's a guy who's as funny as he ever was. Number one, and number 2, his impressions are spot on, perfect, just like they always were. And here's a guy not given the credit. Like, what happens? You get to a certain age, and like some marketing supposed wizard, a genius, moves you out to the side to move in somebody young, no matter if they're talented or not. Like, when you think of impressionists, you only think of really one person, right?
That's
I mean,
him,
it's
yeah.
Rich Little. Like, that's it. So I don't get that either. So I know he's been appreciated during his big part of his career, let's say, with the whole Johnny Carson era. But he's underappreciated now. I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
kind of
for sure.
ridiculous. I mean, his talents have not eroded one bit. It was great, right?
It was a great show.
Yeah, it was a great show. So, do you want to thank your friend for
Oh,
getting us in
Tona,
there?
thank you for getting us in there and getting us tickets. That was awesome. We had a really good time. As usual, you're such a sweet lady. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a great show. We had a good time. So, we're going to take a little break here. No shock, I'm going to play an Alvin Lee song. The Alvin Lee song I'm going to play is called I'd Love to Change the World. And believe it or not, this is the only song that actually kind of gets some radio airplay. And even though it's the only one that's gotten radio airplay on YouTube, it has only about 100,000 hits, right? Whereas, and this makes me sad too, the Gangnam Style, that song,
Oh.
that has like 47 million hits, and that just shows you how people appreciate music these days, which I think is really crazy.
That's stupid.
So, with no further ado, is that how you say it?
Ado. Ado.
This is Alvin Lee and 10 Years After with I'd Love to Change the World.
One more time, I'll come home.
Everywhere is freaks and Harris, tights and fairies. Tell me where is sanity? Tax the rich, feed the poor. Till there are no rich no more. Population keeps on bleeding, nation bleeding, still more bleeding economy. Life is funny, skies are sunny, bees make honey, who needs money, monopoly.
Joe Prony,
And Heidi Mancini.
and you're back listening to the From Grief to Relief show. What'd you think of that song?
I thought that song was really great.
Yeah, and that's mellow for him, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some guitar playing for sure.
Yeah, he's great. Okay, so let's start with a little bit of imago therapy. It's kind of confusing, I think, even for me.
Imago therapy.
So what we're going to do is we'll go slow. If we don't get through it all, no big deal. We got next week, right?
Yes.
So I don't want to pass through stuff too quick and just to get it done. You know, I want to
True.
do it the right way. So imago therapy. Let's start with this. The word imago, we don't be afraid of that. It's
Imago?
Latin. It's Latin. Okay? It really means, it comes from what you call imago Dei or imago Dei, meaning that God makes us in His image, That's where it comes from. So the term imago equals image. So that's all you have to know about that. But the definition of imago, image, according to this theory, keep up with this. It's a little bit confusing. It is the unconscious image we have inside ourselves of a partner who has significant positive and negative traits of our caretakers. Okay, you got that part?
Yeah, I got it.
Now, we unconsciously want to get what we didn't get in childhood, right?
Yes.
Things that we're missing. But we want to get it from someone who is like the people that were our caretakers.
Huh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're asking yourself, well, why would you do this?
Exactly.
Right? So we do this we try to rehab our childhood, right? Mm-hmm. And we try to recreate our childhood psychological dynamics to heal all our old wounds. So in other words, if you have parents, let's say you have a mother and father that were kind of distant.
Okay.
And of course you want to get closer to them. Mm-hmm. Supposedly, unconsciously, when you get older and you're looking for a partner, you might look for someone who actually has that quality.
Cool.
To make it better. In other words, let's say you always wanted to get close to your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you might marry someone who is distant. So you're recreating that psychological dynamic to try to make it better this time. I know it's kind of now you do take positive ones too. By the way, you don't just look for the negative ones. And then here's the crazy part: you will continue to repeat that scenario over and over until you actually repair it and make it better. So you're trying to find a resolution to it.
Wow.
That's why you'll see a lot of people and they'll say, well, my father was an alcoholic, and yet they marry an alcoholic. You go, why? Because there's a part of them that always wants to connect to their alcoholic father, and inside they always long for that. So they end up, and also there's a familiarity to it.
Yeah.
So that's what they do. So here's some of the core beliefs of imago therapy. The main core belief is the purpose of the relationship is to heal one another. So two people commit to the healing of each other's childhood emotional wounds. So in other words, I think this is an extremely positive philosophy because it's not saying that arguing is bad or that personality differences are bad. It says that unconsciously two people get together to make those differences better. So you're with someone that challenges you in that way. So you can argue and then you can come to a resolution. So you end up being a better, more full person. So I don't think it gets any more positive than that.
No.
It also says that the conflict in the relationship is caused from misunderstandings in the relationship and deficits in communication, but not a lack of love.
I believe that.
Yeah, so they say if people get together and they...
I believe that.
Yeah, it's like they don't say that they... what they say is that they don't necessarily fall out of love. It's just that they forget how to communicate. And also there's deficits in people because we're all different.
Can I say something?
You could say anything you want.
So do you think that I'm like your mother in any way? I know one way.
Yeah, I should have known you were going to ask me this, but let me think offhand real quick. I think you're nurturing like my mother. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's it. So I guess, again, it's unconscious.
And I think I got some of your dad, too. I think because he's a clean phobe.
Well, that means, okay, I can see that.
So you married your mother and your father. No, you didn't marry, but I'm just saying.
My dad's also very technical. Like he can put things together and take things apart, like very mechanical.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe you can. That's kind of like hairdressing, right? I mean, you work with
my hands.
Yeah, you work with hands. You got a scissor. You got, I don't know. You do the colors and stuff. So that's kind of technical, I think. So
let's see. And I could say with you, you remind me a lot of my father, with his quiet. He was very strong, but he was quiet. And he was quiet on the outside, but he was very emotional on the inside.
Okay.
And he's very loving, and he was hardcore, but he had a huge heart. And that part I could say you get from my dad. And then my mother, there's a part I always wanted my mother to be nurturing, and she wasn't. Like she just couldn't do it. To this day, my mother's not a hugger and a kisser. I have to be the one to initiate it. Although she tries, once in a while she'll come out and she'll give me a kiss or a hug out of the blue, and I'm like, oh, that was nice.
Well, I think the interesting thing here is that although this is a theory, by the way, it's not.
I don't think it's all
100%
true. Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. I think it's true in that case, then, because I'm not exactly a touchy-feely guy, so I think that's true. So you're with someone who's partly like your mother and partly like your dad. So I think this theory does work for you for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
you don't think it works for me and your mom, your dad, your mom?
I think it does too. I think it does a little bit. Yeah, I can
it's
see
a little
that.
bit, but it's like a horoscope. You can't like take every bit of it literally. You can say
Yeah.
there's tendencies.
So far,
either
I think we're batting 100.
But
1,000%.
now you have to be more touchy-feely. That's your lesson in life.
Well, we'll get to that part, but that's called what
What's
they call.
mine? Mine's to stop bitching so much.
Well, that's what they
that
call
would be my
stretching.
lesson. Stop bitching so much. Oh my god!
But these are the deficits that instead of driving you apart, they're supposed to bring you together. So here is the third core belief of imago therapy. It's a good thing you just said that. It says conflict is good because it creates the stimulus and opportunity to create a better relationship and a better whole human being. So there you go. So instead of, let's say, me being angry that you need more affection, non-sexual affection, let's say, instead of me being angry, I need to step up to the plate, and what they call is stretching. You grow,
Stretching.
you grow into love. So in other words, I can be a better person by doing it. So that's why I'm with you. They would say is because you're teaching me how to be better at affection, and I, on the other hand, would teach you what.
To be more nurture. I mean, I'm nurturing, but there's a part of me that I'm not sure. What are you teaching me? Patience, probably.
Well, maybe that. Maybe that I like to talk a lot more than you do about certain things.
You like to share. You
I
like
like
to
to share a
share,
lot.
and you do. When you come up to me, you go. You always want my attention right away, which is good. I care about that because it means you care about me to share enough. But yeah,
But to me, that's emotional connection.
That
and
is.
When you come home from work, you don't want to be bothered for a while, and that's okay.
because I'm with people all day long.
Right, but so am I.
Listen to their crap.
But
God.
But here's the thing: so am I.
I know, but
But
no, I want to be bothered. Like,
but
give
I
me a
never-
quick kiss on the cheek, and then let me do dinner or whatever.
Yeah. But I never have enough. I could talk to people all day
All day
long at
long.
work, and then come home and do the same thing.
Okay.
So I don't.
I need
really-
my downtime. I guess.
I don't need downtime. I don't have a turn-off switch. So here's some more parts of the theory. Now it says when you're born, you begin life in a state of bliss. All right, ignorance
Yes,
is
I believe
bliss. You
that.
don't know about all the bad things in the world. So you're born as a whole human being and a complete individual. You have everything you need, at least inside.
You look good in that shirt, by the way, Joe.
Oh, thanks.
You do. I was
Nobody
thinking-
can see it.
I know, but I like it on you. It looks nice. It's nice and springtime-ish.
Oh.
You look like an Easter egg, actually, kind of, because it's all multicolored. It's pretty. It's got pink and blue and a lot of
You
different
want those
pretty colors.
You want
in
that chocolate and the peanut butter eggs again, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. All right. So we're born as complete individual. Now, the primary need when you're born is one thing. All you need is love, right? The Beatles said that. Primary need is love. And we're also born with only two fears, and that's the fear of falling and loud noises. So every other dysfunction and fear and all these other problems that people have are all learned from something. They're all coping mechanisms, right?
Yeah.
So just those two fears. Everything else, society...
It's manufactured.
Right. It's the way you deal with society. Now, if our needs and wants are provided for 100% of the time, you would remain whole and a perfect person forever. But
Right.
it's impossible, right? That doesn't work. So every time there's an unmet need, we're going to have a problem somewhere.
Exactly.
So think about if you're a kid with a baby, and you can't get any of your own needs met. So you might be the greatest mother on the planet, but if your baby cries, let's say it needs its, diaper
and you don't
changed.
change it.
But here's the thing. It has to cry for you to know that. In order to get to that point where the kid has to cry, there's distress. Right?
Yeah.
Or if the kid cries for food. I mean, sure, you might be there 5 seconds later with food.
Right.
But just being that the child had to cry was a distress for the child. It doesn't know. Eventually, the baby learns to trust you. Mm-hmm. But there's still little wounds along the way. All children respond by having defense mechanisms. It doesn't matter. It could be even crying. It could be even denying their own needs when they get older. To say, no, I don't need that from you. You know, those things. And also, as we get older, you're socialized by your, say, parents,
Yeah,
caretakers,
sure.
and also by your peers. So they basically run your personality in a way, because they tell you what you need to do to be accepted or to be loved.
Right.
So let's say there's a certain part of your personality, I don't know, let's say you like to, you're very outgoing, let's say. But in the family that you grow up in says that, you know, children should be seen and not heard.
That's exactly that's exactly, because my best friend
Good
was
guess by
really
me.
fun, and she's outgoing, she's crazy. And I hung out with her, and I was always shy and quiet. I'm not that way now, though.
But were you shy and quiet, or were you suppressing yourself to get along?
Probably suppressing myself to get along, because, yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
what
why you
happens
said
then?
that.
So it gets suppressed deep into your unconscious, right? The subconscious. Waiting
To come out.
for somebody to make it okay for you to bring it out. So our image, going back to that, we take all the positive and negative traits of our caretakers in our unconscious mind. Like, some of them are conscious, though, right? Like if somebody's attractive, you go, okay, I like
Oh,
that.
yeah, I like that.
But
Oh, I really like that.
so now this what you have now is the blueprint of the person you're going to be in a relationship with, or someone who you want to marry. Right? So the unconscious mind is attracted to those people who can help us repair the unfinished business of our childhood. And also, like I was saying before, you pick someone that they can help you, like, gain back and retrieve all of your denied part of yourself. So in other words,
wow.
if you're the kind of woman that was told that sex is bad,
Yeah.
and you suppress that, and then you meet a guy that says, okay, it's okay to hang from chandeliers and stuff, you now are open to a whole new thing in life.
Yeah.
And that's when you feel like you're falling in love, right? Why do you feel
Yeah.
like you're falling in love? Do you know?
Because somebody likes you for what you are. I don't know.
Right, and it allows you to be whole. Remember before? So your
Yeah.
parts of your personality shrink in the real world. Then you meet somebody that basically unleashes
The self.
all these repressed, hidden parts. So now you feel whole. You feel alive.
What I release on you? You're talking about me. What was your whatever? The
Well,
ability to talk?
I think that's partly true. I think because I can talk to people one-on-one, but I have a lot of trouble talking to bigger crowds. Like, I get kind of nervous in that way. So, you're much more outgoing than I am. So I kind of, it's okay for me to stretch a little bit, let's say. And you make me stretch because you talk to a lot of people. Although the other night when we were near Pia Zadora,
Oh, I know. I
She
just
was-
didn't think that was the appropriate time to ask her.
see, in my mind, and I was wrong, by the way, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm the shy one, and I'm going to go, okay, do you have your business card on you? And you're like, yeah. And that was my hint to you without
Oh, you
telling
said that to me. I didn't even hear that.
Oh, I thought you did.
No.
Yeah. Well, anyway, because that was my thought. That was supposed to be to cue you in to say, okay, we're going to go over there. Because I didn't
I
want to
missed
be.
that, Joe.
Yeah, I didn't want to be the shy guy or be that guy,
guy.
going over when
Perv.
she's talking to like a bunch of, Well, she was talking to a bunch of people, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to be that guy walking in there and bothering her. But I figured you, as a woman, and also who is not nervous around a lot of people, could have done that. But you didn't. So that's a good example of a Mago image there. Like, I'm hoping you make up for my deficit. So that's one of the
Right.
reasons why I'm with you. Although I didn't choose to be with you because of that. It's unconscious.
Right.
And it comes out every once in a while. And that's one of the things. Like, you make me a better person because of that. And I was expecting you or hoping that you would be the better
And I
half.
almost did for a second, and I said, you know what, this is not, like, I didn't feel like it was right, and I thought, I just didn't feel right. And just because I didn't feel right doing it, I didn't do it.
Oh, no, you were
Where
right.
normally I would be okay with, I'm just going to go up to that person and say something, but I don't know, I was a little intimidated, I guess. I don't know.
Well, things will come the way they're supposed to in
They're
all
supposed
good
to
time.
happen.
But, yeah, so that's a good example of that. So you didn't... I had a deficit, and you didn't make it up for me, but that's okay. But that's one of the reasons why people fall in love, too, is because they end up I hate to say this because it's from Jerry Maguire, but you know that thing when they say you complete me? Mm-hmm. That's actually kind of true.
I know.
According
You
to
don't
this
like
theory.
that saying.
I actually don't, because I think you should be
What's the other one? You're my
full
better
person.
half. And my side. No, what's the other one? My better half or my other half? What's the other one? This
Yeah.
is my better half. When people say that.
People say that, well, and
Yeah,
that
that
has
could
some
be-
truth to it too.
Yeah.
There's some validity to that. Yeah.
Or my
So,
other half.
so the problem with part of this is that this loving situation here, it's an illusion.
Okay.
Okay, they talk about that very clearly. It's an illusion.
Okay.
And the big thing is you've got about a 2-year window where your hormones are taking over. Mm-hmm. So you've got this with it's called a halo effect, meaning that you overlook all the negatives of this person. Right?
Yeah.
There's red flags, and you choose not to see them.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
And here's the other thing. When you start to fall in love with somebody in the very beginning, who do you fall in love with?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Their qualities.
No, well, right. But see, here's the thing.
You fall in love with yourself.
Right, because it's actually when you can recognize a quality of yours in somebody else, it's like you say, oh, that person works out just like me. Oh, wow, look, they take care of their hair just like me. Oh, they're a nurturing person like me. What you're doing is a projection. So you're seeing these good qualities in another human being,
Yeah.
but they're because you have them yourself. So here's the thing that people don't like to talk about. In that beginning time, the honeymoon or the halo effect, I don't care what
The
you call
hormone
it.
effect.
What you're doing is that you are falling in love with yourself.
Oh.
You're not actually falling in
That's
love with
kinda
the other
gross.
human being yet. You're falling in love with yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because love is not about just being comforted around somebody.
No.
Or feeling natural or just some companionship. It's the actually
Well-
like trying to meet somebody's needs
Right.
and
Well, when
stretching
you and
to
I
meet
went to
them.
talk all the time, that was the thing. Because I always talk to people. Like I love to talk and listen to people, and you would talk and listen to me, and I was like, "This is cool." He talks. There's
Right.
another human being on this planet that can have a conversation about almost anything. Yeah,
Right.
'cause I could talk
and
about
and
almost
it opens
anything.
you up.
Uh,
But see, here's the other part of all this that gets confusing. At some point during our relationship, you might dislike the fact that I can talk to
Mm-hmm.
people because it makes you insecure because you know that I can talk to a lot of people.
It's true.
So it comes
I have
back
to agree
bite
with that.
you.
It comes back to bite you in the booty.
That's right. So after a while, the halo effect ends. And then you start to recognize the negative qualities, not necessarily negative qualities, but things that you just don't quite line up with the other person. And then what happens is that all your old pains, say from your childhood or other relationships, they start to resurface because your partner lets you down. And they let you down, I'll tell you why. Because you picked the person to let you down. That's why. Our unconscious, we're trying to solve our childhood problems. So you're picking people with the same problems that you had with your
Before.
caretakers. You understand that? It's really confusing. But let's say if you have fear of intimacy issues, you're going to pick somebody else that's not going to give you what you need. Just like you didn't get it when in your childhood. You're picking that person to redo it again to make it better. Yeah. And then you're going to start to go through an anger period. You're going to criticize your partner, all in vain to get the love that you need from this partner that you found out is not as perfect as you thought.
Okay.
So we're going to take a little break here. We're going to play another Alvin Lee song. This Alvin Lee song also features Mylon LaFay, if that's the right way
Who's
to
that?
pronounce it. He is a musician in the Atlanta rhythm section, another
Oh,
famous
I like
band.
that song. That band.
Yeah.
That song. Oh my God, I'll be all right.
Also in the background here, playing, it's actually a George Harrison song from the album Dark Horse. And on this song, he's playing slide guitar. So we're going to play Alvin Lee and Mylon LaFay. The song is called So Sad, No Love of His Own.
Now the winter has come to eclipse out the sun that has lighted our love for some time.
Joe Peroni,
Heidi Mancini.
and you are back listening to the From Grief to Relief show. How'd you like that song? A little different for him, right?
I really liked that song. It was a little more mellow.
It was mellow.
That
now,
I liked.
Now you have that, right? That image of how he plays nice and controlled with that
Yes.
part? Okay. Hey, Randy, can you turn this part up for a second? I want people to hear this guitar solo. This is crazy. All right, just showing a little diversity here in his playing. It's
pretty
amazing,
diverse.
right? All right, so when we last left, we had this halo effect, and the halo effect ends, right? That's about 1.5 to 2 years, when the hormones start to wear off, and you start to think, oh, my God, who is this person?
Who the heck is this guy?
Who did my unconscious pick?
Oh, my goodness.
Right? It's your unconscious who
Yeah.
did mainly the picking there. Whereas the other part of your brain, the conscious part of your brain, is thinking, okay, what happened? I thought they were good looking. I thought they liked what I liked. But then I really realized that I fell in love with myself.
Is that why people say, I always get, like, they always say, hear people say, oh, I always go for the same guy. Or I always go for the same girl.
Right.
Or
You know
something
why?
like that. Yeah.
See, because you
I
have
hear that all the time at work. I always pick the same guy.
Well,
It's like, oh.
but here's the thing, because you have the same problem inside you all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's what it is. If you have the same issue, the same problem inside yourself,
Yeah.
you're going to continue to look out and pick those people. And, you know, we have a very forgiving
That
world.
makes sense.
Yeah, in our forgiving world, the world will keep showing you the same problem over and over again until you decide to fix
Do
it.
it right.
Yeah. So what you can do, you know, you got choices. You could either keep your inner problem, all right, and then you got to change partners every 2 to 3 years, right?
That's probably why some people do that.
Well, that is why, but they
There's
don't.
people that do that.
They don't know why.
True.
That's why we're doing this.
They just think they're stuck at relationships because you hear that they're like, I can't get along with anybody, so I just have a new person every couple of years
Right, because they,
after the romance
but you
wears
can.
off. Exactly.
But it's a problem. But what they, again, the problem starts inside themselves.
Yeah.
So they decide, you have a choice. You can either keep your problem or keep your partner. So what they do is they keep the problem and then they switch partners. Now, if you decide to get rid of the problem,
Yeah.
you can keep your partner. Right? So
Yeah.
that's where it is. So because by nature here, the person you pick, they're uniquely unqualified to give you what you need. But that's why you picked them in the first place.
Yeah.
That's your unconscious picks a person to get that yin-yang thing going. You're not supposed to pick a twin.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
So you got that?
makes
So,
sense.
and you're picking people that had the same deficit as your caretakers when you were young. So if you have a problem, let's say you loved your father, but maybe there was something that he had that always caused a problem with you, you're going to end up picking a partner that has the same problem. So it's going to, I'll use a real technical word here, it's going to tweak you just the same. Right? You also, what you do is you see qualities in others that you wish you had. And like we were talking about before.
See, I wish
opposites
I could have a
attract.
no-care attitude. I always say that. I wish I could have that kind of thing where I could just let things like roll off my back and not even let it faze me. I know people like that. It doesn't affect them. I wear everybody's crap all over my back and everything else.
See, now I don't do that.
And I know you don't. I know
So
you don't. And my
that-
dad didn't either. My dad was always like, get it off his chest and forget about it.
See, but that's how you can learn from me.
I know I try.
Yeah.
It's
So-
hard act to follow, Joe.
Like, here's one, too. Like we were talking about before, if one person's shy, they tend to pick someone who's more outgoing. Mm-hmm. But eventually, that becomes a problem, too, because if you start to resent that the other person is outgoing, it becomes this adversarial relationship as long as you don't see. In other words, what this therapy seeks is that people become conscious. So once you realize why that's a problem, like it's not a problem for somebody to be outgoing. If it is, you have to ask yourself, why does it bother me? And it's probably because you know you have a deficit in that area. So these all these negative things that come up, here's the good news. You ready for the good news?
Yeah, I'm ready for the good
I mean, I
news.
gave you enough bad news, right? It seems like none of this is going to work out. But the good news is that all of this is supposed to happen. That is exactly the way the unconscious mind works. It puts you with people so you can fix yourself. So the relationship is the path to being whole, right?
Okay, yeah.
So that's the only way you can do it. Now, here's a very odd thing. Like, people talk about self-help books,
Oh, I know. There's
you
a
know, and you
million
got to
of
help
those out.
yourself. But here's the thing. If you have trust issues, let's say, or intimacy issues, how do you heal those by yourself? Go ahead.
I don't know.
Try to answer
I've
that.
been to counselors and everything else, and they
Let me tell you the
Say all
answer.
kinds of stuff.
Let me tell you the answer. You really can't. You can't. It's almost impossible to get over a trust issue if you're not dealing with another human being. So if you were hurt in a childhood relationship and you take those deficits as you get older, the best way, or probably the only way to heal yourself is through another relationship.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So, the journey, right? I mean, so what we're talking about here is you could have all these problems. You could ditch the person.
Right.
Or you could try to go from that one part, which is like, you know, the halo effect area, or you could try to, the journey to true love is through the path of resolving all these conflicts.
Okay.
And,
That makes sense.
Right, and that's how you do it.
But most people aren't aware of those things, and unfortunately, a
No.
lot of people split up, maybe prematurely.
Right, and that's why we're going over this, so people realize it. So the problems that you have, you pick those problems, you know, in order to heal those. So if you know that, it should keep people together a little
Yeah.
more. So I think that's a good ending point for today.
Very good show, Joe. That was a lot of good information.
And we have a lot more to go here, so we're going to have to pick this up next week. So stay tuned.
Tune in next week to
And maybe we'll do a few little communication exercises with each
Imago.
other.
How do you say it, Imago?
Imago therapy.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening. My name is Joe Peroni.
And Heidi Mancini.
And you've been listening to the From Grief to Relief show.
Views and opinions expressed on this program were those of the hosts and guests and did not necessarily reflect those of Vegas All Net Radio, its affiliates, or its parent company.